Reaching six figures is not magic. If you understand your numbers and you commit to consistent activity, you can reverse engineer your income. That only works if your mindset supports your actions. If your mindset is weak, your activity will be inconsistent. If your mindset is strong, your activity will continue to be steady. And steady activity leads to predictable results. Random effort creates random income. Consistent effort creates predictable income.
Life with Brian, the Six Figure Agent Podcast.
Welcome to Life with Brian, the Six Figure Agent Podcast. This podcast is built for telesales agents who want to grow, improve, produce more, and build a real income only using the phone. I'm Brian Jackson. My goal with this podcast is simple. It's to help agents develop the mindset, the habit, the skills, and the structure needed to reach six figures in 6 months. Now, before we get into the tactics or the scripts, the numbers or the systems, we really need to slow down and spend some real time today on something that most agents rush past. That is their mindset. Now, here's the truth. If your mindset is off, nothing you're doing is going to stick. You can have the best script in the world, the best leads money can buy, be trained by the best in the agency, by the best in the country. You can have the best opportunity that has ever been presented. But if your thinking is weak, inconsistent, emotional, or just undisciplined, your results are going to reflect that. So today's episode, we're just going to go deeper than surface level motivation. Today's episode is called Why Most Agents Stay Broke and how to change your mindset to think like a six-figure producer. I really want you to sit with that title today. Because this is not about judging agents. This is about understanding patterns. This is about identifying what separates the agents who struggle from the agents who win. And more importantly, how you can make that shift from struggling to winning. So let's start with something simple but powerful. Most agents do not fail because there's no opportunity. Everyone is given an opportunity, but they fail because they never become the type of person who can handle that opportunity. That's a mindset issue. A lot of agents come into this business really excited. I know whenever I came in, I was so excited. I saw this income potential. I worked with people that are making 6+ figures a year. I see them posting about all these wins. I see the lifestyle that they had. I saw the freedom that they had from being able to earn that. But what I didn't see was the internal work required to sustain that level of success. I didn't see the discipline behind the scenes. I didn't see the emotional control. I didn't see the consistency from day in and day out. And I didn't see the repetition that those top producers were having. And because you don't see it, you don't prepare for it. So when things get hard, and eventually I promise you they will get hard, you start questioning a business instead of questioning your approach. That's where mindset becomes everything. Let me say this very clearly. You cannot build a six-figure business with minimum wage habits. I want you to pause on that for a second. Really contemplate what I'm saying. This is not just about how many calls you make. This is about how you think about your work, how you approach every day, how you respond to the adversity that you're going to run into, and how you hold yourself accountable to what you're doing. Six figure habits are not just about working more, they're about working intentionally. They're about showing up, especially when you don't feel like it. They're about doing the really boring things consistently. They're about controlling those emotions when things don't go your way. They're about staying focused when distractions are all around you. Most agents say they want six figures. When you talk to them, I want to earn $250,000. But they don't want the identity that comes behind that work. They want that reward of the goal they set. They don't want to take responsibility for reaching that goal. They want to reach that outcome without going through the process of earning it. Uh, and that disconnect between the two, it keeps them stuck in one place. So let's talk about that identity for a moment, because identity is not about what you think, it's who you believe you are. If you see yourself as someone who is trying this out, your actions will always reflect that. If you see yourself as someone who is hoping this works, your consistency is going to reflect that. But if you see yourself as a professional, someone who is building a business, everything changes. Your standards change. Your schedule is going to change. The discipline you take into your daily activities is going to change. And because of that, your expectations are going to change. There's a major difference between trying insurance and seeing what it will do and hoping it'll work out and building an insurance business. Person who is trying, who's just trying insurance, they dial when they feel like it. But a person who is building a business dials because it's on their daily schedule. A person who is just seeing what they can do, they get discouraged by that rejection. But a person who's building a business expects some rejection and they're prepared for it. I've heard a lot of people that are trying insurance blame the leads, that the leads are just bad and that's the issue. Whereas a person who is building a business, they know the process. There's no such thing as a bad lead, just something that has to fit inside the process. And that difference is in your mindset. So let's go a little deeper into something that holds a lot of agents back at the beginning, and that is emotional thinking. A lot of agents operate based off of how they feel. They wake up, had a good night's sleep, they feel good, they go to work. If they feel discouraged, they slow down. If they have that one bad call, it affects the next 10 calls. And when they have that good day and they write a few applications, man, they feel like they've figured everything out. And that emotional roller coaster is one of the biggest reasons agents stay inconsistent. And inconsistency is the enemy of income. A six figure producer cannot afford to be controlled by emotion. That doesn't mean you're not going to feel frustration. I feel it every week. It doesn't mean you won't have bad days. They're going to happen. But it means that when you get discouraged, you're not going to let that dictate your action. You're not going to let those feelings dictate how you work your day. Professionals act based on commitment, not emotion. Um, the high level producers, they show up because it's what they do. They don't show up because they woke up and said, I feel inspired to do something today. They woke up and said, I have this on my schedule. I have to do it. They keep dialing because it's part of the process, not because every call they make is going well. They stay hyper focused because they understand the bigger picture, not just the moment they're in, but the bigger picture. When you understand that, that is a mindset shift. Now let's talk about confidence, because this is another area where a lot of new agents get stuck. Most agents think that confidence comes from action, but they think, "Well, once I feel more confident, I'll make more calls. Once I feel like I understand this, I'll start to make more calls." But that's backwards. That's completely flipped around. Confidence comes after action. People that are confident because they're going into a situation they've dealt with before. It comes from that repetition. Confidence comes from experience. Confidence comes from doing the work long enough to get better at the work. You don't become confident by waiting. You become confident by working. And that requires a mindset that is willing to be uncomfortable, that you come from a place of uncomfort to get confidence. Because in the beginning, every phone call feels awkward. You're going to stumble through your scripts the first week or so, first 2 weeks, first 6 months, you may. You're going to get objections that you're not sure how to handle. And you will have calls that do not go well at all. But that's all part of the process. The question is not whether you will struggle, because you're going to struggle. The question is whether you will keep going through the struggle, or whether that struggle will stop you there. That's where the right mindset separates people that are trying things to people that are doing. Now, let's shift a little bit into ownership of what you're doing, because this is one of the most important mindset principles you can develop. Ownership means you take responsibility for your results, good results or bad results. It means you stop blaming everything outside of you and you take blame for how things are going. You stop blaming leads, you stop blaming the market, you stop blaming the timing, you stop blaming other people. And you start asking one powerful question: what can I control? Now, you can't control whether every prospect that fills out a form is going to answer the phone. You can't control every person that answers the phone is going to buy from you. You can't control whether every appointment that you set shows up, but you can control your activity. You can control your attitude. You can control your preparation. You can control your follow up that you have every day. You can control your consistency. When you focus on the things you can control, you take the power back. And when you take your power back, you start improving faster. Now, let's talk about truth versus comfort. A lot of agents want to feel encouraged, but they don't always want to hear the truth. The truth is, most agents are not doing enough activity. The truth is, most agents are not tracking their numbers. The truth is, most agents are just inconsistent. And until you are willing to be honest about that, nothing changes. Because growth starts with awareness. Six-figure producers don't guess. They track everything. They know their numbers. They know their contact rate. They know how many calls it takes to set an appointment. They know how many appointments it takes to write an application. Why does that matter? Why do you need to know these things? Because the numbers remove emotion. Your feelings might tell you that you work hard, but your numbers will tell you if you actually did enough. Your feelings might tell you that nobody's answering, but your numbers, they're going to show that real contact rate. Your feelings might tell you that the business isn't working. Your numbers will show whether your activity supports that conclusion. Numbers bring clarity. The more you know your numbers, better the clarity is. And better clarity leads to better decisions. Now let's talk a little bit about commitment. Because there's a big difference between being interested and being committed. The interested agent works when it's convenient to them. The committed agent works when it's required of them. The interested agent needs constant motivation. They need that constant pat on the back, where the committed agent builds through discipline. The interested agent quits when it gets uncomfortable. The committed agent adjusts to being uncomfortable and keeps going forward. That difference shows up over time. At the beginning, everybody looks the same. But as the weeks go by, the committed agents separate themselves. Not because they are more talented, but because they're much more consistent. And consistency is what builds momentum. Now let's bring this all together. Reaching six figures is not magic. There's no crystal balls involved, nothing like that. It's simply math. If you understand your numbers and you commit to consistent activity, you can reverse engineer your income. That only works if your mindset supports your actions. If your mindset is weak, your activity will be inconsistent. If your mindset is strong, your activity will continue to be steady. And steady activity leads to predictable results. Random effort creates random income. Consistent effort creates predictable income. Now I want to speak directly to the agent who feels stuck, because I have been there. Maybe you started really strong and something happened, you lost momentum. Maybe you've had some setback. Maybe you watched other agents succeed and wondered, what exactly are you doing wrong? But the truth is, you may not be broken. You may just need some structure. You may just need some consistency. You may just need to stop quitting mentally when things get hard. Growth takes some time. I've never planted a crop that grew overnight. It takes time. And every top producer that you see on social media, on Facebook, and on TikTok was once a beginner in the same place you are. Every confident closer once struggled, and every successful agent once had days where nothing went right. The difference is they kept going. So if you're in a tough season, do not run from it. Learn from it. Because sometimes frustration is just the gap between who you are and who you are becoming. But you have to keep becoming. You cannot stop. Now, I want to close this today with a challenge for everybody. For the next 30 days, I want you to commit to three things. First, consistent dialing. Second, consistent tracking. And third, consistent review. Not when you feel like it, not only on good days, every single day. At the end of each day, I want you to ask yourself, did I do the activity that I committed to doing? What did I learn throughout the day? And what area do I need to improve tomorrow? I believe that this simple process will completely change your trajectory because when you combined action with reflection, you accelerate your growth. And remember, you cannot build a six-figure business with minimum wage habits. So the real question is not, do you want to earn six figures? Because the answer to that is yes. The real question is, are you willing to become the person who can produce at that level? And that is what this podcast is here to help you do. Thank you for listening to Life with Brian, the Six Figure Agent podcast. If this episode helped you in any way, subscribe, share it with another agent, and come back for the next episode next week. Until next time, stop wishing, start dialing. Track your numbers and become the six-figure producer you were called to be. God bless you all.